My name is Andrea Castro. My pronouns are they, them, ai. I am a student here at the University of Washington, Bothell, and I am currently working on my bachelor's in educational studies. And this is my presentation on empowerment through learning, culture, and community. First, I want you guys to imagine that you have a little child and you are looking for care for them. And I need you to take a moment to ask yourself, what are you looking for in a child care program? A little bit about me and what I saw when I had my own child. For a while, I was an early childhood educator. I started off as an assistant teacher and then made my way up into administration since 2015. And I decided to go back to school, had my kid, and then the pandemic hit. So I had to take a little pause, and after everything kind of settled down a little bit, I was also kind of going through some personal things. I went through a divorce, ended up being a single mom. That's me in school with my kid, and there he is. Yeah, and then I went back into early childhood education. But when I went back, it was a little bit different because I did have my child, and then I started kind of asking myself, which schools do I want to work in that aligns with my own values and where I could trust them with my own kid. And over time, I worked in a variety of settings. I went to an outdoor school, I went to a social emotional child care based school, and my kid grew up until he went to public school, and I could go back to school. And that's actually him not that long ago with me at school. And then since I've been back in school, there's been this question that's kind of continued on since before I went back to school, and it was where the community was, and not just like the performative community, like the actual community that supported, everybody. So it led me to wonder, like, how can early childhood care settings incorporate community support? How can families actively be involved in their child's early learning within the classroom, not just outside of the classroom or through meetings? And can families and teachers collaborate and work together in the same classroom? And to answer that question, my applied experience with the Latino Educational Training Institute, LETI, their Child Care Circle program, helped me answer that very well. So a little bit about them. They are a nonprofit organization, and they incorporate families, like little family groups, into their child's learning. So there will be teachers, and then there will be the families with their kids. And it's not just like the families with their kids. It's a big community experience where if a mother or a parent needs support, other parents or other teachers come in and help out the child or help them out and support them where they are needed, where it's needed. And how this relates to my educational studies degree in the 4 major themes, which is equity in education, theories of learning, culture, and identity, teaching and learning in a multicultural society, and research and educational knowledge. And then there's also another one that is of significance to the learner, and for me, it was community. So if you would like to look, I have my capstone project website, it's still in progress, but once it is done, you will be able to see all the things that I have explored. Some obstacles and challenges I experienced during my applied experience and kind of trying to figure out how community can be incorporated into the classroom. When I was at LETI, it had been a couple of years since I was very fluent, or I spoke Spanish a lot, like in my everyday life after leaving my family for a little bit. And being with them has pushed me back into speaking Spanish, and I feel like I am a lot better now than I did when I first started, when I had little kids speaking to me in Spanish, and I just kind of froze a little bit, and I'm like, but they have helped me a lot. Reconnecting with my culture, like I said, I kind of left my family a little bit, and there was this big disconnect, and going back with them has helped a lot because I've been able to kind of see how early childhood education is in a Latin American community, and that is something I did not get to experience since I was raised here in Washington and grew up in the North Shore School District, where pretty much my family was the only family of color in the school. Overcoming my past in order to move forward. There's a little bit of things that I have experienced also within my family that has caused that disconnect in the culture. So going into another space has helped a lot and helped me kind of reconnect and kind of go back into learning more about where I'm from. And then also kind of figuring out my role as a volunteer. Going in, I had a lot of experience as an educator and as an administrator, and it took me a second to kind of stop wanting to step in and try to fix things when things didn't need to be fixed. And just kind of listening, watching, and just kind of stepping in and seeing where I could be of support. And the things that I have learned, communication and connection is key. A quote that I remember a teacher told me many years ago, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you don't ask for help, you will not get help and people won't know that you need help. And it has helped me like speak out a lot more being in this applied experience. Time and accessibility, it is a huge privilege to have the opportunity to be in a classroom with your child because a lot of people have like different reasons they might not be able to, like being a single parent like I was, I wouldn't have been able to be in a classroom with my kid because I would have to be supporting too, and any other possible reason as well. And teamwork and clear expectations. Everyone has a common goal, support the child. And if we're not all on the same page on that, then it's kind of hard to work together and know what goal we're trying to work towards when we're in the classroom. And then how I've grown. Accommodation of parent guardian involve it. Right now with the current framework, how current early childhood education is, it's a little bit tricky to accommodate that, and usually the framework is just, drop off a child, go to work, go do your thing, and then the teachers take care of everything. Right now there isn't really a framework that kind of involves parent involvement within the classroom. My culture's methods of teaching and learning, I have learned a lot, so much. I've learned a lot of new songs. I've learned like different methods of how to talk to the child and how to create a learning experience and environment for the child that helps them learn like that also kind of matches up with their culture. And I've been less doubtful in my knowledge and experiences. Even though I've been teaching and been in administration for a long time and mentoring other teachers, training directors and assistant directors to be in their role, there's that self-doubt I have a little bit, but at the same time, like I know, I do know what I'm doing. It's just the believing in myself. But I feel like I have gotten a lot better with that now. And then also bravery taking that first step to create connection, because I love talking to people, but at the same time, I'm scared of talking to people. It's a weird little internal battle, but I feel like since coming into this applied experience, I have gotten a lot better in taking that first step. And why this work is important. Decolonization of education is something that I feel would be very impactful and important, especially with how the world is right now and how the United States is with this big group of people from many different cultural backgrounds. And if we don't make a space that accommodates that or lets that come out in the classroom, reflects it in the classroom, I feel like it would be a disservice to the child, and offering those spaces for them, it would help them learn here and also within their own culture as well. Community support, very big on community support. Also with how school is right now, a lot of the education is more individualistic and kind of training or teaching children to be more individualized, learning for themselves, but it kind of also sets them up a little bit for failure in the future, because after they graduate, a lot of our interactions are very community-based. We go out, we have to work with others, teamwork, all those things. And without those practices, it kind of sets them up for failure and kind of gives them a little disadvantage on creating those connections. And what's next? For me, graduate. At the moment, I still don't know what it is that I want to do. I do know that I want to keep learning and keep getting more experience and more lenses, because I feel like with the ones that I have right now, I feel like it's really well, but at the same time, I want to keep learning and I want to keep knowing what else it is that I can do and support in creating these kinds of spaces for schools. And that's it.